Guy Nirpaz. Thanks for joining me. We're happy to actually enjoy espresso at the same time, so I really do appreciate it. We'll make this an espresso hour. So thanks very much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So listen, I absolutely love to speak to entrepreneurs. It's really fascinating. There's not that many of us, and we are a force multiplier for the economy, for job creations, for technology, for the betterment of everyone. So before we start, why don't we kind of walk us through memory lane? You were an early IBMer, right? You started the career, or you've done some work at IBM. Why don't you walk us through kind of memory lane before you jumped to the deep end and decided to create your own companies?
Sure. So, so, so I think my kind of technology background. No, I said this many times, but as a kid, there were like three things that I would do: is play basketball, play the guitar, and code. That's how I did this as a kid, and um, I ended up deciding at 18 that I'm going to join the military and I'm going to drop the coding. I'm going to become a fighter. And I was told, but not. I didn't think I was good enough at basketball. So all right, and you can make money from guitar. So you just go and do whatever. And I ended up staying a bit over 6 years in the military as a tank company commander. Tanks are now having a comeback, but back then it was very tough, and I learned a lot, mainly about myself. And I managed a lot of people. Uh, and when internet started, I quit the military. I decided that I don't want to manage any person anymore in my life. It's just so hard. So I want to jump right back into technology, internet days, and learn as much as I can by actually doing, by coding, building projects, working with customers, right? All these things. So that was my career days. I kind of got into IBM by mistake, I guess, and I was like a SE there, sales engineer, and I worked very closely with customers. It was very a lot of fun. Then I switched side, and I was in sales, so I learned how to. Sales engineers is technical, but also you appreciate customers. You appreciate how difficult it is to win a deal with a customer, and so there's been a lot of learning for me there. I decided I want to switch into the product world. I want to understand more how to build products, build, sell, kind of being, but also the building stuff at IBM. I did not build the products. I was just working on the projects with the customers. So Mercury back then was one of the finest companies in Israel that was known for building great customer-facing product with great technology. So I joined there as an architect for one of the groups, and then I realized that I'm limited by being an architect, not managing groups or people and so forth. It just doesn't give you enough ability to get things done. And a friend of mine, I called him and said, "Hey, I'm ready to go." That was Giga Spaces, one of the best deep technical companies in Israel. We've had some of the greatest as part of our team. Shai Banon from Elastic just is, I guess, the most famous one, but there are so many startups coming up. Eitan, the CTO of Optibus, and Corland that is now doing Falcor DB, and so many amazing people that work there. He wanted me to join as an architect. I said, no, I've done the architectural days. I just want to run engineering. If you want that, but you never ran engineering. I said, yeah, but I'm a quick learner. So I was able to get in because all the experienced VP engineers that they had didn't have a lot of success. So I was, we might as well try someone without experience, and that worked super well. But I think that was like the end of the working for someone journey for me. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I've always kind of switched to businesses where there's like a big challenge that needs to be resolved. I never kind of joined into okay, there's nothing to do, just optimize something that exists. It was always okay. There's a huge problem. We need to figure out how to get it done. Could be business, could be technical, and I would just jump on this challenge. And then I realized that I would love to, tackle my own challenge. And that was the starting of me realizing that I got to start something on my own. That was the early days of Tatango.
So do you still play the guitar, or you abandoned that completely?
I, I actually do. I made a huge comeback into guitar. When I rented Tango, once we started renting our own office, we always had a music room, which was and we had a band. And recently, actually, I found this co-working space in the Bay Area. It's called Sound Union, and it's a mix of co-working and musicians. And once you end up your day, you jump into a studio and you start playing with others. So, I'm super excited. I'm going today, I'm going tomorrow. It's a lot of fun.
There's a direct correlation between musicians and entrepreneurship, and the same goes for musicians in cyber. Which I talked to quite a few companies, um, and a lot of people realize that the chances, the odds of them succeeding in music and be able to make a living are slim. So they've ventured into doing something else, but they still have passion for music. Uh, and it's just super interesting. So listen, I got, from the first story is fascinating. It's really remarkable. There's just so many things that that spring to mind. First and foremost, it sounds like it wasn't necessarily planned, meaning the journey wasn't okay, here's a fork, this is where I'm going, but it was more like, okay, I've done something, I want to better myself. It maybe not be the right decision, but it's not the easiest decision to make, and you kind of jump into 2 feet. And a lot of people are not like that. A lot of people are content with being where they are and not making the change, because it's the being comfortable with being uncomfortable kind of thing. Is there any particular, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So any particular attributes that you can say from your upbringing, or something that that maybe people you look up to, that embedded this in you? Because I think that's the key. That's the underlying key to success, is be able to not necessarily know what you're about to do, but know that what you don't want to do, and then making a change.
Yeah, so if you're talking about entrepreneurship, I think it was always in me, right? There's like something about being. I mean, I was a good student, but I was a rebel. I wouldn't say like a hard rebel, but there was always like a nonconformist point of view of things. That I would not agree with the status quo in many cases, right? And so I was always like more on the fringe or the extreme of thoughts or ideas, and got me into trouble. Uh, not so much, but so I think that was always in me, right? That this thing, and I think because the way my family grew up, we had my parents had this serious financial trouble. I was very risk averse early on. Uh, Around this idea that I gotta be able to settle properly, and have like safety, right? And safety is not like being super rich. It's just being able to um, put without this to live without an existential financial risk, right? I mean, it's not life or death, but it's very uncomfortable feeling when there's no financial stability. So I think what drove me in my 20s was a lot of that. But then this urge to go out on my own was always there. And I think when I could look back, I always had a side project. I always built something besides doing what I'm doing. And then I've just wanted to do the main thing. Where I wake up in the morning and I'm working on my side project. I think over time I learned how that I'm now doing another business, and a lot of people ask me, okay, so you built Tatango, you ran it, you sold it. What's the point in doing this all over again? And I think when I was thinking to myself about myself, so I'm a builder, but besides that, it's you do the startup for the journey. You do the startup for challenging yourself and feeling uncomfortable and fear and overcoming all the hardship that comes from the uncertainty. And the reward is not, I don't think most people do this for, I mean, maybe some, but it's not the financial gain, it's the overcoming the challenge. And hopefully there is going to be financial gains. As a result of that in business is, ultimately you measure things by financial success. But I think really if the goal is financial success, there are other avenues to reach those with much less risk. So the entrepreneurship is all about kind of feeling comfortable with the uncertainty, with the unknowns. Building this grit or character that I'll be able. I don't know what the world's going to throw at me, but I'll be fine. I'll be able to figure it out. And I think that's you're right. I learned that that's what drives me and motivates me. I'm not sure. If you can give advice to people, I mean, you should do this too. I think there's a lot in the entrepreneurship, startups and so forth, which is, romanticism around, I had an idea, I built it up and and I made it $1 billion company. Most businesses, like 99.9% of businesses and startups don't work like that. So statistically, it's not a good idea. I think the reason why I do it, and I'm assuming some like me do it as well, is enjoying the journey, really enjoying the journey. And the enjoyment is the overcoming the suffering.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because sometimes it's the win is something as trivial as being able to sustain yourself without failure. It's like I was listening to an actor who said that they were not successful as an actor, but just the fact that they were able to sustain themselves as an actor, that was the win. And the same goes for entrepreneurship. So let me ask you this: if the school system today, and we digress, and I love this, does not lend itself too much to doing just that. The school system, it's all about conforming. You do your assignments, and I'm talking about from early age to middle school to high school to college. Yes, there's some programs around it, but it's even the programs themselves are all about conforming. They tell you, okay, this is how you should build a deck. This is what you should do. This is how you should raise funds. Or this is how you go from idea to inception. But it's not about that. It's if somebody wanted to instill that in their children, or be able to promote that idea that you can kind of self-sustain and be a builder and create, how would you go about it?
It's a great question. I've been thinking a lot about why, there's this idea that there's a rule, or that there's a book, and everyone is selling the book, and there's a book. If you're going to follow all these steps, you're going to be able to build and run a company very successfully. And the success of Tatango was when we realized that there's no book, and we got to invent our own book. And the business model that right for us and right for our business and right for our market and right for the timing and so forth. So I think it's like a natural tendency to kind of to find the book and the recipe. It's kind of a sense of safety. And it's a good thing to read the book, because why wouldn't you learn from others? But you just need to understand that the success of one is just so random, and it doesn't apply to you necessarily, right? You can't just take whatever Henry Ford did and just replicate that, and you're going to be successful. So So I think that's kind of this one is like this tendency of organizing us as people around learning and ideas and so forth. I, I think if you're asking what can one do with their kids is actually not worry too much when they fail. Actually, you learn from failures versus doing everything super well all the time, right? Because the confidence, the self confidence being built that I'll be able to overcome that. So this is not a happy situation, this challenge or failure or difficulty. Uh, but if the way I bring my kids up, and they're older now, but it is all it's not go to the best school, is develop through the years your self belief that you can overcome this. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's good or not. But I think getting kids into the world is really getting them into the world, which is they can they can address whatever is coming at them. That's, in my opinion, it's the most important thing, because I don't know what life is gonna what's gonna happen. We're living in a decade that every year is completely different. We're seeing things that we've never seen before, starting with COVID and the various wars and political tension and so forth and so forth. So the idea is, we don't know what's going to happen. We want to be able to believe that whatever is going to come at us, we're going to make good choices. We're going to be able to overcome that. And I think that's so I think a lot of over guarding kids or over saving them or trying to kind of create this optimal, safe from failure environment, I don't think is doing any favor to anyone. I think actually the opposite, in which, I mean, respectfully and lovingly, but still giving the kids the opportunity to fail and overcome. I think some of the stress that comes from being perfect is, I mean, especially here in Silicon Valley, is being perfect is you got to go to great school, because a lot of the most successful executives here, not necessarily entrepreneurs, but the most successful executives went to the best school. So success is going to the best school. So if you need to go to the best school, you need to do like amazing high school. And in order to do amazing high school, you need to do a lot of great in middle school. So this kind of idea that, you got to start very early in being perfect. I don't think, I think it's, could be ambitious, but it's puts a lot of pressure and puts the emphasis, in my opinion, in some cases, on the wrong values.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like the society as a whole does not necessarily rewards those that follow the rules all the time. And you can see that. You can see uh, the people that are successful, they maybe didn't necessarily just break the rules, and some did, but they definitely kind of massage the rules a bit, or in the idea that common knowledge leads to common results. And
Yeah.
and as you mentioned, you had to pave your own path. You maybe read a book, but you had to pave your own path and how to be successful. And there's a lot of seminars that people sell to, these incubators, right? You laugh because it's true. Like, hey, we'll go through this incubator. We'll give you the tools to be successful. You go through, and you'll be successful because we showed you the path. But it's not the case, right? As you can see from your personal experience of, sample size of one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't wanna kind of talk down on anyone. I think there's value in learning regardless. But I think one of the key lessons is every company, every entrepreneur has their own journey, right? So it's good, right? I mean, in many cases, right, this was like one of the early learnings when I was the founder CEO of Tatango. Initially, I surround myself with a lot of advisors, right? I'm sure every new entrepreneur knows that they are being courted, but with so many advisors. And they're all very smart people with a lot of good experience. The
Coaches
challenge
too.
is,
guy.
exactly.
There's a lot of
I'm
coaches
not,
these
I'm
days.
not, yeah, no, but I'm not saying anything negative. I think those people are actually, let's not assume malice. Let's just assume that they're kind of good intent. But their story and their background, their experience of a lot of people is what they've learned or experienced or know. And one of the things that entrepreneur that you need to do is take all this experience and apply this for your current situation, right? Your market is too early, or you're too late to the market. You are, there's so many kind of concepts that you can't just apply, take it and just apply it the way it is. You need to, so without being asked for advice, I'm excited. I like to kind of provide feedback and so forth, but I caveat that, but put zero weight into anything I told you because it comes from my point of view. You should apply whatever is right for your business because you understand it's best because you are the main navigator and the leader of your journey, which I'm not at the front. I'm not seeing everything that you're seeing. I don't have the information and the experience and it's very hard to verbalize all that. So a lot of that comes to like good decisions around gut feel and so forth. So I'm just saying it's a natural conflict between certainty and learning to charting your own path, right? I mean, of course, there's some common sense, right? Run out of money as a strategy is not like a good strategy to sustain the business, but which channel you should sell and which market and what are the key messages that people are willing to buy today versus what they were willing to buy a year ago and so forth. External advice is not necessarily, maybe they'll open the aperture and allow you to see more options, but ultimately the decision is the decision of the man in the ring, right? That's the way it
And
is.
it was saying that the fastest way to failure is to follow everybody's advice. It's like because
That's kind of more of that faster way to not move forward.
So speaking of moving forward, so talk to me about the classic founder story is that they come across a problem and they've seen that there's no off-the-shelf solutions out there, and the majority of people don't do anything, or ideas a dime a dozen. This is where there's just so many people talking about ideas, but then you decided to go ahead and create something. So talk to me about the current venture. How what was the inception like? What problem you're solving, and let's dive into that.
Sure. So I would just say, kind of, with your permission, is that I think there's this untold or undiscovered truth about the world that sparks the idea. I don't think it's at least in my case, and the undiscovered truth is I think that so the new company is called Perspective AI, and what I've learned is the importance of learning and feedback. And the best learning and feedback comes from conversations because you can get like a very good nuance and you can ask follow-up questions and so forth. The challenge with that, usually in companies, is scale, right? So, there's only so many hours in the day, both for you and the people that you want to get feedback from. So what companies do, they run surveys. The challenge with surveys, yes, they give you scale, but they don't give you the same level of depth. Right? Usually they give you very little. And I've seen this when I ran Tatango, when we would do every quarter win-loss analysis. Top three reasons, one of the top three reasons why we would win in deals was user experience. And one of the top three reasons why we would lose in deals was user experience. So we were running surveys. And when we did like research, it cost us an arm and a leg. So I think what I've noticed is that there's an opportunity right now to really solve it by introducing this idea. There's two key ideas. One is you get conversational scale by using AI to run those conversations. So now people can use async conversation with Perspective to download their learning and share them with me or whomever is asking for this feedback. And the reason why they would do it, A, because the experience is going to be very fun, a lot of fun and engaging, but also because I'm asking, because I'm giving them a seat at the table, and if I do that, they will participate, because there's a relationship that I'm using to get this feedback, and that's proven to be very, very powerful. We're seeing early signs of 90% completion rate of interviews when people kind of have this interview, and we're not optimizing for 3 questions. We're wherever the conversation is going to go, it usually goes between 8 to 12 or 14 questions. But people, I mean, much like what you do, if you seem interested, so you ask a follow-up question, that's the way perspective works. The higher level idea here is that the reason why we're doing all this, right, going out, asking questions, and is because we want to improve something. We want to, win-loss analysis, that's not the goal. The goal is to understand why we're losing in deals and what can we do to improve it. Or if we do an employee pulse is, I want to know what my team thinks and what are the key challenges and what can I do to improve their life so they can perform better. Or I've just seen a lot of usage in perspective around change management, why my engineers are not excited in adopting AI tools, and what can we do to improve it. So the goal is, the way we call it is understand everyone to grow everything. That's what perspective is. So if I understand if I want to grow something, I got to understand it well, and the best way to understand it is to ask the people that have the knowledge around it. Could be my customers, could be my team, could be my, whomever, could be my partners, and apply that. So instead of survey or research where you kind of you do everything, you design it, and then you ask the questions, and then you analyze it, and then you may or may not take action item. We are trying to optimize the flow from I got a problem that I want to solve. I define it by simply asking questions, and at the outcome, I get the recommendations and the action items to move forward. And I believe I'm a very big believer, coming from engineering background, with feedback-based process models, where if you really want to move fast, you need to improve the cycle time. Right? How quickly can you learn? And if you can learn very quickly and implement your learnings super quickly, like in Scrum and engineering or any other feedback-based system, you're going to go, faster than your competitors. You're going to have, employees that understand their mission, that know what needs to be built, that are going to, commit to the mission, and so forth. So that's the idea of perspective. And the truth that I've discovered, that I've mentioned, was that people are influenced from other people's stories, right? If I can take a broader look, when we built Tatango, the idea was, how can we don't have uniformic view of our customers because it's so scattered? Let's track usage. Especially when cloud was forming, let's track usage. Usage is going to give us this information in a statistical fashion, so we will know what to do with every customer, and so forth. Later years into Tango, we've also added surveys like NPS and things like that. And I've noticed that people are still kind of reading the NPS comment and are moved by it. They will mention that in the next meeting, so-and-so from GitHub said that they loved what we added recently, or they didn't like what we added recently. That would be a driving force for the team. So I think if we can use the kind of put AI on top of what's in people's heads, which doesn't exist. There's no system like this, right? ChatGPT, Claude, all the Gemini are all AI on top of what you have on the internet. And there's a lot of folks that are building AI on top of documents and knowledge that you have in your enterprise. But perspective is the first AI that is on top of what's in people's heads. because I believe this is so critical, right? What happened in our recent project and what are the learnings does not exist on the internet. It's not. It couldn't be generic. It has to be very specific to what we've learned and what we want to improve. I mean, it does communicate a little bit with everyone needs to understand their own journey and have their own learnings, which are very specific for the business in order to grow. So startups use it, project teams, product teams use it, marketing teams use it. That's the mission behind Perspective.
And Guy, if you don't mind, again, I just need to unpack this so much. I wanted to, first and foremost, let's define better
I talk a lot, huh?
No, not at all. It's great, and I just want to. The thing is, when you're so close to the problem and you're so close to the solution, sometimes you kind of oversee or ignore the fact that most people don't come from that world. And so one thing that I'd like to touch upon, the fact that you mentioned that there are issues with surveys. And I want to, with your permission, I want to dwell on it for a little bit. So first and foremost, surveys has been around for a long time, as you mentioned. And at some point in time, there's like massive, it's like an explosion of that. And meaning that every time you transact online with somebody or whatever, you get a survey back, you get an email. And first and foremost, the issues again, and I don't have in-depth knowledge. I know a little bit about this, but first and foremost, there's ability to influence the results by defining what the survey is asking. So by definition, by the way you ask the question or the type of question you're asking, you can affect the results. Number one. Number two, the medium you use, whether it's over the phone or whatever, it's like a pick a button, pick an answer. There's even the time of day. There's even, I would say that influenced by the type of people, individuals are answering. I can tell you, I'm very busy. A lot of times I don't have time to fill out a survey. But then the people that do, I'm not saying they're not that busy. Maybe they're retired. Maybe they have more time on their hands. So that's by definition, whoever is answering it makes the whole thing skewed. Like in terms of the results. And as you describe, it's definitely not real time. It's you fill these out and you run some sort of batch processing after the fact and try to figure out what was the answers. And a lot of times it's annoying. It's just annoying. Like when you try to do Amazon return and ask you why at some point in time they got rid of it, but they forced you to pick a reason why you wanted to return it or why you wanted to cancel the subscribe and save. They removed it because people were just pick up randomly because just to get over the next to just return it. So the results were completely skewed. So that's, I wanted to kind of dwell on the fact that maybe it's better than nothing to have some sort of survey, but there's definitely an explosion of that. You can't transact with anybody these days. My dental office has sent me, every time I book something, like somebody's asking me, how was your experience booking? No, my experience was okay. I don't have time to.
Do you think it captures your experience?
No, it does not. Do
you think it gives you the opportunity to express what was your experience?
No, not at all. Not at all. And it's annoying.
That's exactly my point. I think the form factor, I mean, it makes sense, right? Surveys where people with pen and paper that would on a clipboard and they would ask you those questions. That's how survey came about. And then they transition into the internet. So instead of people with pen and paper, they send you this online form which asks you that. But still, it is the world that has been optimized for the processing, for the data processing. In the past, it was data entry. Now it's data processing. So they give you options like a SAT score, so you can grade them out, so they can run a machine that is going to process this faster, right? Like election or things like that. But when it comes to things that matter, it doesn't work like that. There's nuance. There's a reason behind how was your experience. Okay. It sounds like you're not that excited. So what can we do to delight you? It would be nice if your AE or SE would not be late 5 minutes to the call and let me wait for 5 minutes because it doesn't make me feel valued. If you didn't have this in the survey, you don't have this information and so forth and so on. So the world in which we are talking is nuanced. When we were in
the
this
tacit,
we
the
were in
tacit
this
knowledge,
challenge,
right?
there was technical problem. If you wanted scale, you had to optimize it for processing, and if you wanted value, like then you had so write a document or an email or whatever. But then it's then you cannot scale. I mean, like a conversation. So, but now if you have AI in the middle, right?
And by the
You can
way,
say it
sometimes,
the way you want to say it.
sometimes, Guy, it's like sometimes it's the stuff that's not being said.
Exactly.
It's in between the line.
Or the visual or the body language or the level of enthusiasm in which things are being said, or did you take the time to write like one sentence, or so there's a lot of that. So I'd say that the best way to capture, let's say we talk about user experience or customer experience, the best way to capture is that the store manager kind of buys you this espresso, and as you leave the store say, hey, David, can we spend 5 minutes? I really want to know how you felt about this experience. Unfortunately, so that's the best way. What we're building is the second best way, meaning that you can't have all the online store managers online to do that. So we're trying to make it as close as possible to this experience. And you would answer because they're taking the time.
Guy, like how does it in actuality? So I say if I wanted to give it a try, and maybe I should do it. Maybe I should sign up with you for anybody who attended my podcast and ask them if there's some things I could have done better.
So by the way, we have a use case for podcasters. Many podcasters use it to engage with their audience and ask, what do you like about our podcast? What do you think we should improve? Which guests should we bring up? I mean, I can give you. There's a lot of examples. So how does it work? It's actually very easy. You go to getperspective.ai website. You create your own account. A new project is called Perspective. So you create a new perspective. It asks you a few questions because this is how we do it. We ask you a few questions. So what are you trying to find out? Who do you want to interview? Like 5 questions. It creates a link. You send this link. You put this on your show notes. In the case of a podcast, you mention this, or you send this to people. Or you put this on your website. People click the link. They see your face, greeting them, and a bunch of questions that from Perspective AI. But it's clear that you're going to read it. So it says Perspective AI on behalf of David, and they respond because they want you to hear what they have to say. Otherwise, they wouldn't even start. So now you have all this information. With AI, we make it very easy to, you can read it. But
so
with
people
AI, you
are
can
typing back or they're speaking back or
typing.
the typing. Is there in the future, because I know, for example, some of the AI now have a conversational.
Yeah. We are basically built on the latest and greatest of the models. So, we'll add this, the conversation, but as I said, 90% completion rate. Once people start, they feel valued. So
where's the magic? Is that in the experience of answering it, in the type of questions it asks? Like, where's the magic that you capture? Maybe without whatever information you can put.
Yeah, no, don't worry. So the magic is that it takes you 3 minutes to create a new one for you. The magic is that it is able to extract meaningful information from stakeholders. Could be employees, could be customers, could be listeners. The magic is being able to take all this input and summarize it to learnings and recommendations. So, you started, they answered, you have recommendations, you implement them, you're in a better place. So this learning cycle is something that, just doesn't exist. Now it exists, but didn't exist before that
and
speed.
Then when they answer, when the user, the person who's getting surveyed, is it the same experience that they would have for like SurveyMonkey or or whatever
No,
else, or is it
it's
like
a conversation. It's like they chat with their friend on WhatsApp. This
okay,
is
so
how it
that's
feels.
okay, so it feels like a friendly surveyor on the other side asking you
It feel
questions.
it feels more like an interviewer, like what you're doing right now with me. Or right now it's the opposite because you're asking me and I'm responding. But you are, if you don't understand something, you ask right follow-up questions. You demonstrate that you listen. It's kind of making someone feel that they're talking to a peer that is at their level in their context. It doesn't feel as if you're talking to this machinery that, okay, David, you got 4 options to tell me how, 5 options if it's a CSAT survey. From a scale of 1 to 5, how satisfied are you? 4. Thank you for your, the NPS that we do, if people use NPS, okay, from a scale of 1 to 10, what's the likelihood you're going to recommend
And
this
Guy, what's
show?
NPS again?
Net
For
promoter
those.
score. It's this
Okay.
1 to 10 score that you're getting. A lot of companies are applying this, but let's say you give 6. So the model in NPS is 9 and 10 is promoter. I think 7, 8 are neutrals, discounted, nobody cares, and 6 and below are detractors, right? And there's like a computation that eventually calculates a number. Classical NPS asks you what's the likelihood you're going to recommend. You give it a score.
Yeah,
It then
that's a classic.
ask you why. It gives you like selection options, the service, this, that, whatever. In our case, we ask you, okay, if people want to do NPS, what's the likelihood you're going to recommend? You're going to 6, and the follow-up question is, what do we need to do in order to get you from 6 to 10? Which is a completely different question than it was the service, it was the food, that doesn't tell you anything. This is exactly like the example I gave before. Why did you buy Tatango? For user experience. Why you didn't buy Tatango? Because of the user experience. As a product leader, I don't know what to do with that besides going back and saying, okay, what is it that you didn't like about the user experience that made you choose the other thing? Or what did you, did you miss it? Did you not know that it exists? Or did you like the user experience implementation of a
So
competitive
does so
product?
does the engine guy, the kind of the AI engine, does the follow-up question to
Yes.
dive a little deeper?
Nothing
So
is
that's
fixed.
that's the magic where it fits to what the person is answering. So it's not fixed like the if
Yeah, it's not a
Amazon was
survey,
asking
it's a
me
conversation. It's an
right.
adaptive
So
conversation.
and I think that's why kind of the inverse of that was if you went to IKEA in the past whatever 10 years there's you go outside I think they implemented different other places where there's like these 3 buttons smiley face some whatever face in between and a sad
Yeah.
face and they
Yellow,
just
yeah.
want you to hit one of these buttons and that's it when you're on your way out from the store they just want you to hit one of these and I
Yeah.
guess because that's the only way to can capture the kind of the experience of what
No,
how they
it's
felt.
good. It's an indication, but it doesn't capture the why. I hit the red. Why did you hit the red? Ah, no, sorry, by mistake. I hit the red. Why? Because I was searching for something for an hour and it was not in stock. Why did you hit the red? I hit the red because I don't like the style of the new collection. I mean, if I want to be in IKEA and improve things, I need to understand. Now, in our businesses, because I built this for myself, for my business, I want to be able to improve. So I want to understand things on marketing and things on sales and things on on internal processes and change management and features and why would customers want that feature, what's the value in which they're seeing and so forth and so forth, right? So a lot of a lot of the deep discussions that leads to the groundbreaking insights coming from being able to really understand. There's a great book called Amp It Up. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. One of the things that Slootman is saying there, you can't write a prognosis if your diagnosis is wrong. So how do you diagnose? You got to understand what are we dealing with, and a lot of ways, and what are we dealing with? For example, the IKEA use case that you gave is we're seeing a drop in CSAT. What are we dealing with? The new collection, or the service, or the new store manager, or the new prices. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. So people that care to improve, people that care to grow, like startup founders, where they need to understand product market fit. Am I solving a critical problem? Who do I really impact in the organization, and so forth? All this, customer discovery and customer interviews and so forth. I'd love to be able to do it, very frequently with a lot of folks, so I can learn faster. If I only have to, I mean, obviously surveys are very limited for that, but if I only do it in meetings, then I'm bound by my schedule, their schedule, and so forth. So, now perspective can be added to the mix of tools that people have to better understand problems in their business and take action on them.
Yeah, and companies used to, and maybe they still do, pay a fortune for focus groups because
Exactly.
they couldn't fill the gaps between, especially when they're launching a new product or looking at different features, they do focus group. But even then, I think by the time that the focus group was established, run, capture the data, analyze it, all it's almost too late. And you discussed the engineering term of the iterative loop. The whole process too expensive, too costly to iterate and get
Yeah.
the response right away.
I think focus groups is a great solution, but it's not for everyone, and it's very expensive. So cycle time is long, and the cost is very expensive. We think about companies use management consulting to do market research and so forth. This is very, very expensive. So I think now there's technology that allows people to accomplish similar objectives with a self-service, very intelligent model that is very engaging. That cost you by the usage. We charge on a pay-per-use basis. Not we don't charge for subscription or any of that.
Yeah, amazing. So who are the early adopters? Who are the absolute best potential clients for you right now that can get the most out of the current offering?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned besides podcasters that I don't know, we had like a accidental success with that initially, but we were targeting companies, startups, and a little bit more mature companies that say seed all the way to growth companies that have to move fast, cannot afford the focus group projects or the management consulting, and still want to learn and move fast in their product, in their engineering, in their design, in their sales and marketing people. We built this as a horizontal. There's a bunch of templates that allow people to start from a proven models. But even if you don't use a template and you customize on your own, it takes 3 minutes to come up with a new perspective. You share the link with your we call them participants or contributors, and you are good to go. You're seeing what they said, what are the recommendations as a result of that, and you can take action items in the system that will allow you to move forward. And in addition, something I just going to learn from a meeting I just had, it also preserves the knowledge, the organizational knowledge, because all the learnings is documented in perspective. So, future projects can learn from past projects. All this information is available. So, as I said before, anything that is in people's heads that matters is documented and used by perspective.
Guy, do you use your own algorithms to have your product better? Maybe there's one less
Of course.
question to ask you about how was your experience by using
I've
this
always been a big
perspective?
believer of dog fooding. Always been a big believer of dog fooding. Sometimes someone told me it's kind of drinking your own Merlot instead of eating your own dog food. So it depends on
That
your
sounds
glass half empty.
more finesse
Yeah,
kind
half
of thing.
empty person, or a half empty glass person, or half full. But yes, absolutely. We use it, we learn from it, and we move fast.
And then people remember stories. Can you share like some success stories of companies implementing this and making a change that was very impactful on whatever the revenue or whatever the programs
Yeah,
they've been using it for?
so unfortunately on companies I can't comment because it goes kind of very deep into either employee performance or trade secrets that they've been able to. But I have a very good story from podcast that was really trying to very pretty successful podcast. Felt very confident with their audience growth and so forth, but they used perspective to really get feedback. They tuned their content. They only need to adjust like 10% of their content strategy and content, and they've been able to double their audience group in 6 months. So that's pretty amazing. They were big to begin with, and they've doubled. Very happy with what they've been able to learn.
Was there any particular element that was very surprising to them? Because
Yes,
it's remarkable that
it was
if they were successful, they why couldn't they find it on their own? It's so
because their bent was a very it was like a certain audience with a certain political preference. But one of the key feedback that came from two things. One is you should let the podcast host, you should allow people to finish their sentences. Would very much appreciate that. Secondly, bring people from the other side more frequently. We do want to hear other people's point of view. They didn't know the second one at all. They thought that, okay, we're going to stick within our domain. They've brought, and this kind of really understanding the other side and being able to articulate your political position was something that really made it more applicable. Additionally, audience group also grew because this debate is good for both sides, so it made it a little bit more centered versus just one side of the political map. So how could they learn that? It was either anecdotal feedback or on the social media where, as you said, there's a bias. People that respond on social media have a certain bias there. So that
you
was able to open it up for a lot of folks that were able. That was like that podcast specifically was our record day. We had like thousands of responses in one day.
yeah, that's incredible, and I completely understand where it uncovered some key points, and we run out of time, but I want to ask you, so kind of the future of all of this, right? So they're talking about AI be able to take over ownership on the kind of production, enhancement and so on. So do you foresee like a future where the AI engine will take all the recommendation from your AI engine and then go to the drawing board and remanufacture or add features and so on and come back to meaning will completely, take out the human element from capturing the feedback to the
Yeah.
manufacturing.
So we're a big. Yeah, I think AI is gonna help us do things faster and better, and more economically. But the entire purpose of perspective is put the people in the center. The entire purpose of perspective is getting human perspective to be able to learn and grow. That's my belief. I think this is kind of my core understanding is that we as humans, and we've seen this in COVID, are social creatures, and we care deeply about other people and what they have to say. I mean, who didn't have like a bad day just from hearing like a negative comment from one person that didn't really matter? That's how humanity works, and I think we are just making it easy to capture, make sense of this learning, and improving based on it. That's our belief in perspective.
I love that. I always like to finish my podcast in a positive note, but you beat me to it. Uh, but last question, what's the easiest way for people to reach out, to to sign up for Perspective and just get just give it their own try? And what's the easiest way to do so?
The easiest way is just head to getperspective.ai and get started. There's no credit card required or any payment. People can try it out. We give 250 credits for free to start with, and once you pass that, then there are multiple payment options. But once you get there, you're already sold. So that's how we see that.
Phenomenal guy. Maybe we'll get one for me. We'll see
Yeah,
after
happy to
this
give
event.
you the friends and family discount. And by the way, if people want to kind of contact me personally, LinkedIn or X is the best way to do it.
Phenomenal. Thank you very much, guy, for spending the time with me today. Much, much appreciated. Looking forward to see where you go from here. And I'll definitely give it a try myself. I'm a huge proponent of using, AI tools and to enhance what we already have. And I love the positive tone that, it's all about enhancing humanity, enhancing our collective mindset and not detracting from it. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.